Hey guys, Tyler with Force Turbos here. Today we got the machine that a lot of you guys have been asking for, honestly. It's a 2020 Polaris Ranger. So this one has the North Star motor that a lot of people have been asking about. So we finally got one in. We've got a turbo system for it now. We're going to go ahead and throw that on today. So we're going to show you a quick install, how to do it. First things first, obviously we got to get this bed off. We got to get the bed off. We're going to have to take this panel off. In order to do that, we're going to have to take this door off and this bracket here off. We're going to need to take the exhaust off and any of the wiring that may be connected to your lights up in here. So a lot of it, we've already kind of taken it off just to kind of make this a little quicker. It's routed throughout these little cross beams and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and kind of just run through that, give you quick little shots of how we've done it, take everything off, and then we'll cut back to when we're starting to actually install everything. So first things first, we're going to take his bed off. Like I said, 14 millimeters here. We've already removed the shock inside of here. So the bed's going to come up. And obviously it's not held on by a shock at all. But if you want to come take a look in here, I'll move over to the other side. This here is the wiring harness that I was saying. If you have the street legal kit, the street legal kit, it's got a lot of wires in there. You're gonna have to kind of, like I said, trace them back. This one, you're gonna have to remove your backup camera. Yeah, so we'll kind of just hop into it, show you guys how to slap everything together, and we'll move on from there. So like I said, bed off first. Alrighty, so exhaust is off. We've taken the springs off as well. There should have been one on the other side, or actually two, I'm sorry. So from here, we're gonna want to take off our map sensor. You're gonna want to loosen up your fuel rail. We want to take off this tube here. This being your stock intake to your box. Like I said, we've already loosened a lot of the stuff so you can kind of see. This is just an 8 millimeter, and then the hose connecting over here is just a pinch clamp, as you can see. So you're going to want to loosen up all that. And then from there, you can take out your back seats and make sure that we can get to the diagnostic port back there. Your fuel rail, like I said, fuel lines if you need to, or just this one fuel line. And also new on this system, we are using a sandwich plate for the oil supply, just due to if you have an AC unit, getting into the oil supply from the motor is a little tight. So we're gonna go ahead and that's where we're gonna be pulling oil for our turbo. If you wanna come get a look at that, you can just see your oil filter here. We're gonna go ahead and remove that. Watch out for any oil that may be spilling out of there. You can just stuff some rags under behind it. And like I said, from there, take it out, watch for the oil, drain it back into the motor. And then, yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and take a bunch of the more stuff off, get little clips of that, and show you guys. Oh no, where'd the door go? Just kidding. We've already taken that off, as well as all the bolts holding this panel here on. So we're going to slide that off just like so. Now you had, let me put this back together. Function. Sorry. So you had two push pins here. You had a T30, a T30, three T30s on the bottom. The other one being still holding that other panel, and then a couple other ones down along here. So we've taken all that off. And now, we've loosened up the stock fuel rail. If you want to come take a look here. I don't know why I said stock, I'm sorry, the fuel rail. And there will be fuel that comes out of here, so if you want to just get a rag, kind of block some of that. And again, these are two T30 bolts here and here. We were taking off the map sensor, sitting right here was also T30, and unplugged your injectors. So we're going to remove those stock injectors, and there comes the fuel. Just slide slide that back, like so. And if you really want to, you can remove, sorry, let me get this out of the way. If you really want to, you can remove these little clips here. It should be T20s also, so you can remove that just to make getting the fuel rail out a little easier. Take out our stock injectors. We want to clean out anything that may be sitting in there, any residual dirt and or fuel for that matter. So that's what we're going to be removing. And like I said, there is some dirt in here, so we're going to get that cleaned out and before we put the other ones in. So we'll hop back to that in just a moment. Okay guys, with everything out, so we're going to start installing some of our other parts. So we'll do a couple of the simple ones first, so that being injectors and map sensor. Obviously the injectors are just going to go in the exact same way the other ones came out, and obviously they're going to be sitting in there like that, right? Obviously push down. We're going to put the fuel rail back on. We're going to throw our map sensor in. That's going to go in place of the other one. You can use the same bolt that came off of it, that being a T30. Slap the fuel rail on, slap these injectors back on. Okay, so next what we want to do, we want to go ahead and mount our turbo so that we can run our lines. So what we want to do first is obviously check everything and where we're going to be drilling our holes. So we're going to be setting the whole turbo system in place like so. If you want to come take a look over here, we already have drilled our holes, but for your guys' reference, easiest way to do it, mount everything up this way, and then if you want to kind of come get a look down under here, you want to line up your tranny bolt here with this opening, and then you can make your marks for your mounts right beneath that. So I'll show you how we've done it. So everything's mounted up just like so. Like I said, you can follow these same bolt holes in here and just make your marks, and then we can kind of go from there. We'll get measurements of where, or from each side of this bolt, where those are going to be mounting up, and then you're going to be making your last hole. I shouldn't say last hole because there's one last one. Another hole here for this mount. So what you want to do is mount those ones up first, get everything mounted, and then you can make your measurement for this one, mark it, make your hole, and then tighten everything down. So we're going to mount everything and show you guys how it looks. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and drill a couple holes now in order to mount our turbo. Now, we've already gone ahead and done this pre-video, so if you want to come take a look over here, you're going to want to get a tape measure, right? And from the middle of this transmission bolt, you want to measure 3 inches over, right? Same thing on this one, 3 inches over, and that'll line up just the same. Let me flip this around for you guys. In the middle of that, 3 inches, right? In the middle of this one, the middle of the phone, bolt, 3 inches. That is how you'll kind of take your measurement, or you could kind of line everything up just by doing just like that, you know, have everything lined up. Use a center punch so your bit doesn't walk, for sure. And once you've mounted those two up, as well as up against the donut here, or gasket, then you can mount everything, have all that mounted up, and then you can make your measurement for this one here. So if you want to come take a look up over here again, once that's all mounted, you're going to have it mounted at the top of this frame here, basically, on the side of this top frame. So you want to come look from this side and see how everything lines up. Okay, so now the last hole that you're going to need to drill is going to be your hole for your oil drain. Now, this is going to be a decent size hole. It's going to be, we're going to do 1 inch and 3/8 just to give it a little more wiggle room. The hose itself is slightly less than 5/8. It's a 5/8 hose, so you're going to do, like I said, you could do 1 inch. We're going to give it a little more room. But Again, we're going to mount the turbo up, take a look at it, and I can kind of show you the angle of how it's going to need to be. Alrighty, so if we take a look from this side, you can see the angle of our oil drain line here. So you're obviously not going to want to point it in this direction due to your inlet pipe, right? We're going to take this oil drain and kind of angle it right about there, right? And we are going to mount it. I've already kind of started hole. We're going to start here. So you can see, compared to the first hole that we drilled, we're about 2 inches, sorry, 1 7/8 inches, give or take, above it, and we're going to drill out with 1 3/8 inches. So again, if you don't have a hole saw, you're definitely going to need one, but we're going to start that out, drill it out, and then that's where we're going to route our oil drain line through. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll show you that after that. Okay guys, so this is kind of what you're going to be looking at as far as on the back side goes. You have a hole here, both 3 inches away from this one. We have our oil drain hole on the left hand side, which is 1 7/8 inches above your the second little hole that we've drilled here. So once all those are drilled out, you can mount it, and then we can drill this one up here for another one of our mounts, being the actuator bracket mount, right? So that other top piece that you can kind of just adjust as needed on the turbo itself. So once all 4 of those holes are drilled out, we can go ahead and we're going to move on to mounting up our oil pump. So if you want to come take a look on the other side over here, follow me. We've already gone ahead and done those ones as well, but this right here is where we're going to mount it. So what we've gone ahead and done, kind of what we did to start off with. If you want to come take a look over here, I'm not sure if we can get move or see that very well, but you do have a hole right here that's from the factory. Don't want to touch that hole, so we kind of just moved over. And how we've mounted it is just lined her right up about in the middle. So this edge here, in the middle of this little piece. So about right there is where you want it. And then oil from your turbo is going to lead into this one and out to this one, and then that one will lead back into your oil pan. So what you want to check on your turbo, or sorry, not your turbo, on your oil pump, is the flow arrows, right? See, so if we're coming in from the turbo and it goes in this way and flows back to the oil pan that way, so just follow the arrows. Sometimes these don't always get flipped around the way they need to be, so you can just do so by loosening these up, these 2 Allen bolts. I believe they're 4 millimeters, don't really remember, and then you can twist your oil pump as needed. So again, check these, otherwise you will be flowing this backwards and you're going to start your motor of oil as well as your turbo. Not what we want to do here. So we're going to go ahead and mount that up, and we've drilled through both this part of the frame and the bottom, as well as kind of just used a hole saw to open that up a little bit for the bolts that come with it, and they're those should be 13 millimeters. So both being on the nut and the bolt head. So we're going to mount that and show you guys kind of what it looks like with everything actually mounted up. So we'll come back to this in a minute. Okay guys, with oil pump mounted, you see you want to make sure it's solid, right? It's not really going anywhere. And I apologize, I said they were 13 millimeters. They're actually 14 on either side, both the nut and the bolt. So with that being mounted, we can go ahead and mount our turbo up. So then after that, we can run our lines to and from the oil pump over to our turbo. So let's take a look at what we got here. So like I said before, easiest way to probably do it, well, and that we found, is to mount your inlet pipe first. So kind of just secure it with the 2 supplied stock 14 millimeter spring and bolt. You until it bottoms out. To the other side. Also bottomed out. Now, everything in place. Obviously, it's still a little loose. What we're going to want to do is mount everything else up. That being the mounts down here and the top mount. So, for the top mount, it's just a 13mm nut and bolt with a washer. And then the bottoms just being these 13s also with washers. So we're gonna mount that up and show you guys what it looks like afterwards. Okay guys, next step. So we got our turbo on, you can see. We're gonna come take a look just to get a glance at how everything's supposed to be mounted. You can see everything's solid. One being with here, your mounting point here, and 2 down there. So everything is in there. So next, both charge tube and cold air intake. You want to see, obviously, when with it packaged, that's how you're going to receive it, something like that. You're going to want to take this first half off, and then we're going to route this down through here. Right. So obviously that's going to go into here, and then this one being to your throttle body. Then from there, mount this one from your air box to your cold air, or from your to your intake side of your turbo. So, sorry, I'm losing my words here. We're going to mount everything up, and then we will go ahead and we'll show you exactly how everything's supposed to be routed. So, we're going to flash to that right after this. Okay guys, so we've now installed our cold air and our charge tube. Now if you want to come take a look, Caden, at the routing of all the pipes so everyone can kind of see. These are 11mm for the clamps, and these are 8mm for those clamps here. So again, you want to make sure that you're not bumping up against your shock, even upon movement. You're not hitting anything either way. Same thing with your cold air. And then from there we can hook up the breather into our tube, as well as after that we can run our oil line. Okay, so moving to the oil line, oil drain that is, you can see that we've kind of added just a little silicone tubing around this hole, again, so your half-inch line isn't bumping up against it or cutting or rubbing or anything like that. So again, it's going to snake around and then go through the transmission brace and down along the side and follow your this coolant line. So again, you want to make sure it's not bumping into anything in there. If you have any more silicone, wrap that brace as well, just so it's not rubbing. And then come down around to this side. You're going to route it down along just about like that, right? So you're not bumping into your A-arm. You're not bumping into anything else. You're not bumping into your linkage there. Just about give or take like that. You can zip tie it up and out of the way. And then this first line is going to be mounting straight and going onto your barb fitting here. So once you've mounted that one, or pressed on rather, put that one on, you got one more line, and that leads to the opposite side of the motor, which we'll show you once we're installing our other fitting here. So this one is just going to mount if it's facing the front of the motor. It's going to face it give or take like that. The other line will route around the motor and down into this fitting, thus bringing all the oil back into the oil pan so it can still cycle through. So we're going to do that, then we're going to do the coolant lines, and then we'll do the oil supply. After that, we'll go ahead and run through the dynojet installation, whether that be the wideband or the PV3 first. We'll get to that when we get to that. So we're going to go ahead and do this real quick, and we'll move on. Alrighty guys, last part of the oil drain system that we got. So you're going to need to take out this plug. This is the plug that's leading back into your oil pan. Now that is an 8mm, and to get to it, it's a little difficult if you can't see where it's at. So I'm going to show you real quick the parts that we're going to be replacing it with. This screws into there just as such. Obviously we want to get this in first. This is the one leading back into your oil pan that will be replacing this one. So we're going to put that in and then put it into our AN fitting. This is an 8AN. And in order to get to that, I'm going to try to come and take a look down here and show you guys exactly where it's at. Right about, sorry, somewhat in there. That hole right there. Yep, that's the one. Okay, so again, that's a little difficult to kind of see and get to. May need specialty tools, just as such. This is just a crescent wrench that we've cut off, obviously. So we're going to kind of show you exactly how to get that in there, and then route a line from your oil pump down and around behind your motor. Obviously, don't run into anything. You don't want it touching anything that may be moving back there. Obviously, your drive shaft, any of your other lines, but you can zip tie it up and out of the way so it's not touching any of that. And it will be pushing oil, so it doesn't have to be gravity fed, such as the first half of this line. So we're going to thread this in, route that oil line, and then show you how everything else has turned out. Alrighty guys, so we've routed all of our oil drain lines from the turbo to the oil pump, and then back around from the oil pump down into the motor. So if you want to come take a look at how we've routed it. So again, routed kind of in through the frame, kind of S's around this way, follows this down over to your oil pump. Then from the oil pump, it's got a 90 on it, right, that you want to face back towards the motor. That circles back around and down over and through. I don't know if you can really see this. I'm trying to move my hand so you can see the line itself. Route it back down and into here. Okay guys, for the wiring of the oil pump, pretty simple. Just a black and a red. Gives you a lot of inches and or feet to get to where you need to go. We like to just wire it straight into anything that has power when you turn on the vehicle to an accessory key. So as soon as that turns on, before you actually start the vehicle, it'll you can have power to your pump, so it's kind of priming any oil that may be in the system. So we've seen people wire it into the lights. We personally have wired it into the lights as well a couple different times, but again, anywhere black and red, got a power and a ground, as long as it is powered when the vehicle is in the accessory position. So we'll take care of that, and then we can move on to routing our wideband. As you can see, we've kind of already started on that. So our O2 sensor is in the exhaust, and we're going to be routing that down through, and so we'll kind of get that wired up and we'll show you how we've wired it, and you guys can follow the same thing that we've done. Alrighty guys, so we just finished installing our coolant lines, oil lines, and our oil sandwich plate. So if you want to come take a look at how we've done it, show you kind of how we've routed things. So the coolant line, we're going to start with those. So obviously we have to dig into our coolant line, kind of cut into it a little bit. So this being onto your motor right here, if you want to take a look. So this used to be just like so, right? So you're going to cut away just this little first half of your hose, and then one of your coolant lines that doesn't have the line already on it will go back into the hose that you've just cut off, and then the other one will plug into the motor. Simple enough, right? Now for the oil lines, also pretty simple. We've installed one half into the turbo and I've routed it under your throttle body, and then kind of up and over. Make sure you're not touching your fuel line. You don't want it to rub through that, hit any of that's going to be bad, honestly. And then from there, we put it back into our oil pump, right? Or not the pump, I'm sorry, into the oil filter and the sandwich plate. So you just screw this first piece on, screw it down, make sure you tighten it with the bolt that's on there. I'll take this off real quick so that we can kind of get a good look at it. And then put this off. So this, screw down. Alright, so that's kind of what you're looking like, right? You have this side down on the motor, right, the machine side, and then you install your little adapter. The adapter screws on with and sandwiches the plate down, hence the sandwich plate name. Sandwich that down. I believe this was a 23 or 24 millimeter, something like that. I apologize, I don't remember. So you're going to tighten that down onto where the oil filter used to be, the housing, and then the oil filter is going to adapt to that just like so. Right, so then it's all going to go in place like that. So pretty simple. Then you're going to put your, obviously your oil line, which will feed off of that. So we're going to reinstall all this stuff, and then we'll show you how we ran some of the DynoJet stuff. Okay guys, so for the wideband, pretty simple. We're going to start off with the O2 sensor. You're going to thread that in, obviously, into your exhaust. Kind of wrap that around and plug it into the back right here, to the other side of this, obviously the other corresponding side of the harness. Route that harness down and through this tunnel here. So we're going to kind of come around over here. I'm going to climb in there so we can kind of show you guys. So this is that cord, right? That is still running under here and then running through into here. Sorry, I'm magical doors. So that's going to be running up to here, right? This is that harness. That's what it's going to be looking like. That is then going to be plugged into each corresponding terminal that it calls for, being blue, red, yellow, black, gray, and white. All right, so you're going to plug those in, thread them in, and then tighten them down so that they don't come loose. Then from there, I'm going to bounce back over into the back. So the other wire that we need to run is from your diagnostic port over to your wideband. So this is your diagnostic cable. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see that. That is plugged in right down over here by your battery. Alright, so it's going to be plugged in right here into a dummy sensor, kind of. Unplug, get your extension harness, and plug that in. Also route that down and through the same tunnel. Come back around over here. Right, and then the same thing. That is going to be plugged into this here. Right, so this is your extension harness. That's what we just ran from over there. That is then going to be plugged into this one here, the other corresponding end, and then plugged into either side of your DynoJet wideband controller. So it doesn't matter which one of these it plugs into, that's just right where it's going to plug. Now, from there, if I could plug this in, there. From there, we're going to try to mount it inside of here somewhere, keeping it away from obviously any moving parts, anything that may be in there. You want to keep all the wires tucked up and out of the way. Now, in order to get from your wideband to your power vision, we've routed this cable along, so it's going to be looking like this, being one end, and then the other matching the same corresponding end of your wideband. So that looking like this here. Right? So this is the same cable. Okay, so then we're going to come from there. I've taken off the back of this and kind of just moved her forward. We're going to cut a little notch in here, wrap that down through under all of this, right? Down under here, under your dash, keep it nice. And then it's also going to run under here. So it's going to run under here, come back up through here, plug into your wideband. Pretty simple, just a lot of stuff. When it's explained, then it's fairly easy. So once we have all that down, I'll show you how to marry your power vision to your machine. And then from there, we should be ready to give her a start. So we'll get that done and then we'll come back with you guys. Alrighty guys, for our last step, we want to double check everything. So that being any oil line, any of your coolant lines, anything that you have as far as accessories go, we want to make sure that everything's powered up. We want to make sure that nothing is leaking. So before we actually start the vehicle, you want to turn the vehicle into the accessory on position. So from there, we're going to check our wideband. It's going to start off flashing green, and then it'll turn solid green like this. That means we've done it correctly, everything's hooked up right. After that, you want to check your power vision. So you're either going to get a screen that says no compatible stock files found, or you're going to get one that says all compatible files found. So if that's the case, you're good to go. If it's the first one, you're going to need to contact us. All the info is at the website at forceturbos.com. So whether that be through email or through phone. So once everything has been flashed over, you're going to want to go ahead and you can give it a start. And again, after that, check for leaks from oil, coolant, oil drain, any of that. So we're going to give it a little bump. That's good. So if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Like I said, info's on the website. And be safe. Remember to wear your helmet. Remember to wear your mask, whatever it may be.